Hey, what's up everyone? My name is CS Samurai and today we're going to be going over PHP's Echo function. Echo is used to output information to either the screen for web development or the command line. On the surface that sounds pretty simple, but Echo does have some quirks to it that we're going to go over in this video. So again, Echo will output any parameters that we give it. So in this first line here, we echo out the obligatory hello world. And if we switch over to our browser and refresh, we can see hello world here, as we'd expect. But keep in mind that Echo will not append any new lines to the strings that you pass it. So for example, if we have another line here, CS Samurai is awesome, we might expect it to have hello world on one line and then CS Samurai is awesome on the next line. However, if we switch over to our browser and again refresh, we can see that it squishes both strings together. It does not actually append new lines. And this is a little bit of a gotcha because I would expect these two strings to be on their own lines, however they're not. To get it on its own line, we would have to do something where we append a break tag or maybe a new line or a carriage return depending on what your operating system is. But if we go back over to our browser and refresh, we can see that it is now on both of these strings are now on separate lines, which is what we want. It's also important to note that Echo is what's known as a variadic function, which I don't want you to get caught up in the terminology of variadic. What that basically means is that Echo can take in as many arguments as you want. So you can give it one argument as we've done here, or you can give it 9,001 arguments. It doesn't matter. It'll take them all and it will append them together, again, without a new line. So in this example here, we are echoing out hello world and then an exclamation point. We're actually passing it three separate arguments. So in this case, we should still see hello world with an exclamation point, and we do. I know I've been labeling Echo as a function, but really in PHP, it's not a function, it's a language construct. And I don't want you to get caught up in the terminology here. Language construct is really just a fancy way of saying that in certain situations, Echo acts like a function. In other situations, it does not act like a function. For example, the way I've been writing Echo so far is Echo with a space and then the arguments. We don't have to write it like that though. We can actually write it with parentheses as we see in this example. So we have echo and then parentheses and we give it one argument of hello world. So if we head on over to the browser and refresh, we can see that we still are getting the same output. We're just calling it in a slightly different way. Personally, I never use parentheses with echo. It's just a little bit more typing and it's really just not necessary. However, if you like the look of the function better, if you like calling it like a function, by all means, please do. It will behave the same way in both situations. So there are really two prominent contexts in which Echo cannot be used as a function. The first is that it cannot be called from a variable function. And really what this means is if you look at these two lines, with functions, we can actually set a string of the function name to a variable. So in this case, I have out equaling the string echo, and then I'm actually calling the string as a function. So for functions in PHP, this will work. However, with Echo, it will not. So if we take a look at our browser and refresh, we actually get a fatal error. So call to undefined function echo. And again, this is because Echo is a language construct that does not always behave like a function. So the second case in which Echo does not behave like a function is when you use it in a ternary operator. So in this example that I have here, we have a ternary operator and the left is true, which of course will always evaluate to true. So we would expect this to actually output yes to the screen. However, we can already tell by my IDE notifying me that this is an error. But if we go to the browser, hit refresh, we can see that there is a parse error, unexpected echo. And this is because this is invalid PHP syntax. Again, because Echo is a language construct, not a function. So just remember the two kind of gotchas with Echo is that you cannot use it in variable functions and you cannot call it from a ternary operator. And you'll probably never encounter these in the wild. However, it is nice to know about them just in case. I remember when I was first starting out with PHP and I came across both the print and the echo functions, we'll call them, and I was very confused about what the difference between the two are. So really the differences are, number one, that print cannot take a variable number of arguments, so it only takes one argument, whereas echo takes as many as we want. And the second difference is that print will return 1, whereas echo doesn't return anything. So for example, if we try to print this out with 2 parameters, we can already see that PHP Swarm is squawking. But if we go over to our browser and refresh, we get another syntax error, unexpected comma. And again, that's because this is invalid syntax, because print only accepts 1 argument. And it's really up to you whether or not to use print or echo. However, I personally always use echo because I like the flexibility that it gives me to be able to pass in multiple arguments. But it's really up to you. Another interesting behavior to look at in echo is the difference between passing in multiple arguments rather than just concatenating a large string together. And in general, most of the time, you're going to want to pass in multiple arguments over concatenating. And the reason for that is when you use the concatenation operator with certain other operators, for example, addition or subtraction, the operators addition, subtraction, and the concatenation operator actually have the same precedence, which essentially means that they will be executed or evaluated from left to right. And this might not always be what we want. For example, if we take a look at this first line here, so we're echoing the string sum, and then we're concatenating 1 plus 2. Now, intuitively, what we would expect here is we would expect the output to be sum, and then a space, and then 3. However, we're going to find out that's not actually what happens. So if we refresh the screen on the browser, so we get a couple of notices here. So the first one is a deprecation warning saying that if you use an unparenthesized expression containing the concatenation operator and the addition or subtraction operators, in PHP 8, they're going to take higher precedence. So essentially what this is saying is you want to always use parentheses when using a combination of these 3 operators. The second warning is saying a non-numeric value has been encountered, and then we get the output of 2, which is really interesting. If we take a look at what's actually happening here, is since we have the concatenation operator and the addition operators, again, these have the same precedence. So in this case, they're going to be evaluated from left to right. So the concatenation of sum, the string sum, and the integer 1 is going to be evaluated first, and then the addition is going to be evaluated second. And since PHP does not support string addition like this, it's going to squawk, and it's going to cause 2 to be returned, as we see here. The way to fix this is to simply wrap the addition in parentheses, and if we refresh, we get a sum of 3, which is what we would expect here. This is a pretty important gotcha because a lot of developers like to use concatenation like this with the echo construct. However, again, it's important to note that when you do that, there are certain times with certain operators that the precedence comes into play and you have to wrap some expressions in parentheses, and it's important that you be aware of those situations. However, if you use echo with multiple arguments, we kind of sidestep that issue. Because with the different arguments, each argument is evaluated separately. And this is really important because in this example, we pass in the first argument of our string sum, and then our second argument with our expression 1 plus 2. And in this case, 1 plus 2 is going to be evaluated before these are concatenated together. So if we go back to our screen and hit refresh, you can see that we get the same output. And that is why in general I am a proponent of using multiple arguments with echo rather than concatenating a string together and passing it as one argument. Because there are cases where there's some unexpected behavior with using the concatenation operator, and passing multiple arguments in kind of just makes that issue go away. Alright, that's it for Echo's PHP construct. If you'd like more information, you can head over to PHP's official documentation. They have an entire page dedicated to Echo, and I'll make sure to leave a link in the description. If this video was helpful, please leave a like and also subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be uploading computer science related videos at least once a week. Alright, see you in the next one.